YouTube, how's it going? It's Quentin here and welcome to tutorial number 38. And in this tutorial, I want to talk to you guys a little bit more about forms, and we're actually going to continue with the form that we worked with in the previous video. So hopefully you guys watched the previous video and then you'll be up to date. If you didn't watch the previous video, maybe go back and watch it. Yeah, basically what I did was I had this form over here that had place for a name, a password, and a submit button. And if you take a look at that in the code, we basically have an input of type text for a name, an input of type password for the password, which obviously allows you to have bullet points instead of having actual characters show up. And that's just obviously for security purposes, so nobody can see what password you're typing in here. And then the last one is that input of type submit, which made the submit button, right? So that's the code that we're working with. And also you'll notice that I have an action in my form of login.php, and that just means that whenever we click the submit button, we get taken through to that file, and that happens to be this file over here, which actually does nothing. It basically just tells us that the data has been submitted. So we'll take care of data manipulation and data validation when we actually learn about PHP and JavaScript and stuff like that. But for now, because we're only learning HTML, we're not going to worry too much about that, right? So now that we've got all that catch-up stuff out the way, let's move on to checkboxes and radio buttons and labels. I think that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. So the first thing I want to do is add a checkbox to my website. So I'm going to do that by typing in input, and then under type, we're going to add in checkbox, and that's going to create a checkbox on our web page. Then we're also going to have to give this a name. So I'm just going to say sign up. And like I said in the previous tutorials, these names are not really going to mean anything to us right now, because basically, that it only gets used for when you are processing data with PHP or with JavaScript or something. So right now the name doesn't really mean all that much to us, but we should definitely get into a habit of giving each one of our checkboxes or input elements or whatever a name. So let's save this now and take a look at this in the browser. So let's go back to just the index file, and you can see that okay, yeah, there we go. Now we have a our name and our password, but we also have a checkbox that I can tick and untick, right? Although that doesn't really mean anything to me as a user, because I don't know what I'm checking this checkbox for. So we're probably going to need to add in a label just to let people know what this checkbox is supposed to do. So the reason why I named the sign up is because now we can add a little label over here. Oopsie. A little label over here. So go ahead and type in label, and that's going to add in this tag. And I'm just going to drop down to a new line to make it look a little bit more tidy. And then I'm going to grab some of these line breaks over here and just paste those down there as well. And all that's going to do is obviously just make everything appear on a new line. And then for this label, let's add in sign me up for the newsletter or something like that, right? Just an example of where using a label would be useful, right? So let's save this now, refresh, and there we go. We now have a label next to our checkbox, so I can at least see why the hell I'm checking this thing. Now that we know why we're checking it, I just want to show you another really cool trick that you can do with this label. So basically, if you go to your input element or this checkbox element and give it an ID, so type in ID is equal to, and then I'm just going to use the same ID as the name. It just makes a lot of sense for me to do this, and you'll probably see why in just a second. And then basically on this label, go ahead and add another attribute called for, and then set that equal to something. And basically what you want to set it equal to is the exact same thing as the ID. If for some reason whatever you typed in this for attribute and this ID are different, then this thing that I'm about to show you is not going to work. But let's save this, jump back over to the browser and refresh. And now you'll notice that when I click on my label, the checkbox gets ticked. And when I click on the label again, the checkbox gets unticked. So it just gives you like more space to click on something, right? So instead of like forcing the user to have to check on the checkbox, they can check on the label. And that's especially useful when there's like maybe 3 or 4 checkboxes. When you click on the label, then you know exactly which checkbox is matching up to that label, basically. Right. So now that we have that one sorted, let me show you guys another attribute, which is an attribute called checked. And basically this is really useful for checkboxes and the next thing that we're going to take a look at, which is radio buttons, because it then automatically checks a box for the user. So if we save this and jump back over to the browser and refresh, you can see that right now this box is ticked, and it's because I've set this attribute to checked is equal to checked. If I take that out and save this and then refresh in the browser, you can see that when the user visits the page for the first time, that checkbox is not going to be checked. But with the attribute, if you save it, that checkbox is automatically ticked. Right. Now let's go ahead and just take a look at what happens if we have multiple checkboxes. So right now we only have the one, but let's say I added in another 2. So let's paste in 2 more checkboxes, and I'm just going to give the label something different over here. So let's just say sign up for special offers and sign up for premium membership or something like that, right? Just all cases of where you might want to use a checkbox in a form. And then underneath the names, you might want to use different, well, actually, for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to use the exact same name for all 3 of these, but basically in future, you might want to use different names. But yeah, again, for the purpose of this tutorial, I want to use the exact same name because I want to show you guys something. And then, okay, for the IDs, let's go ahead and just change all of those, because you can't have 3 elements with the same ID in HTML. It's just very, very wrong. So you should never do that. So let's just change these IDs. And because we're changing the IDs, we also need to change the 4 attributes on all of the labels. So we've got sign up 1, sign up 2, and sign up 3. And basically we just need to take that and move it across as well. So sign up 1, sign up 2, and sign up 3. Save that and jump back over to the browser. And that basically just makes it so that when you click on the label, the right box will be checked or unchecked. If you didn't change any of these IDs or these 4 attributes, probably going to land up with a little bit of a problem when it comes to checking the boxes, right? Okay, so now we have those 3 checkboxes checked. And this is something I wanted to show you guys, right? Is if you have 3 checkboxes and they all have the exact same name, all of the checkboxes can be checked, which is awesome for when you have multiple options for a checkbox, or if you want basically the user to be able to check all of these options. So in this case, yes, the user can sign up for all 3 packages, right? But let's say, for instance, the user needed to specify a gender, or basically just you needed the user to specify something, but they could only select one option. They couldn't select all 3, right? Then that's where something called a radio button comes in handy. So let's copy all of, well, actually, let's not copy all of those. Let's just type it all up again, right? So I'm going to create another input element over here, and I'm going to give this a type of radio. So instead of checkbox, we're using a radio button. And for the name, I'm going to set this equal to gender. And basically the reason why we're doing this is because when a user maybe signs up for your website, you want to know what gender they are. And usually this is going to be male or female. And in some cases you can add an other box to accommodate certain people, right? But there aren't going to be too many people who are more than one gender. There aren't going to be people who are male and female or another, right? So you only want them to be able to pick male or female, right? So we've got the first box over here, and I'm going to give this a ID of male and maybe a value of male. And again, value is maybe not going to come in much use right now to us just knowing HTML, but if you know PHP, then it's definitely going to become in handy when you want to get the value of whichever box this user ticked, right? And in fact, we probably don't need that, but I'm just placing it there anyways, just to show you guys that there is an attribute over here that we can use, which is called value. And then I'm going to go ahead and just copy a label over here and paste that label above the radio button. And then the for attribute needs to be whatever the ID was. So this ID is male. And then for the text in the label, let's go ahead and add male, right? So now we have a box for a male. We're just going to copy that and paste it below here. And then we'll say female. And then for, let's just change that to female. And then the ID, let's also change that to female, and the value to female, right? So just make sure that you update all of those things. It's going to be really confusing for you if you don't, but I know that there's a lot of different places to change them. So just make sure for the label, the ID, and the value all match up and they're all exactly the same thing. Okay, let's go ahead and copy this and paste this down here, and then add one more gender, which is just going to be other. And we're just adding that to accommodate somebody who believes that they're either not one of the other two genders, right? So let's go other, and other, right? Save this and come back over to the browser, refresh, and now we have these radio buttons. It's probably going to be a little bit better if we add break tags after each radio button and save this now, right? And the reason why I did that was obviously just to make it look nicer, right? But you'll notice that with checkboxes, if you check male, then you can only have male checked. So you can't go ahead and then check other, because the second you do that, male gets unchecked. And it's the same thing with female. The second you check female, then one of the other boxes in this group is going to get unticked. And the way that the browser knows that these three things are all a group is by looking at the name. So make sure that the name for each one of these checkboxes is the same. So if I've named them all gender. So this one's name is gender, this one's name is gender, and this one's name is gender. If for some reason you changed the name and you made the name different, basically it's going to mean that the user can check more than one of these radio buttons. And we don't want that to happen, because that's obviously why a radio button is useful, for when a user only can check one of these buttons. Right, so now we've gone ahead and taken a look at what radio buttons are. We've also looked at what input or checkboxes are, and now we know the difference between both of them. By the way, you can also add in a value on that checkbox as well. I know I didn't talk about that, but yeah, basically you can also add a value here. It's just really not going to come in much use to us right now until we know some sort of scripting language like PHP. Yeah, now that I've explained all of that stuff and you also know how to use labels, I'm going to end the video off right here. I just want to send a shout out to my sponsors at Dev Mountain. They run a coding bootcamp with courses on iOS development, UX design, and web development, and they'll teach you everything you need to know to get a job within this field, and they'll do it within 12 weeks. So check out their website, the link is in the description below, and if you do contact them, make sure to tell them that I sent you. Special thanks to the guys whose names are on screen now. These guys contribute $5 or more on Patreon, and I really appreciate that. While you're still here, there are a few other things that you can do to help out, so follow me on social media and check out some more of my content, and I'll see you guys next time.